Welcome to my channel, One for Azazel. This video that I'm making now is for all Jehovah's Witnesses who are PMO or they're questioning the organisation, and also for those who have just left, who are having doubts or are afraid to leave because they think that they may be taking a stand against the arrangement of God. And I used to think this as well, because the Jehovah's Witnesses, in particular their governing body, say that they are the faithful and discreet slave, and that they were appointed by Jesus Christ in 1919 to feed and lead God's people. But the title of this talk is the two witnesses rule, or the two witness rule, which we've all heard about, referencing child sexual abuse. But I'm going to look at that rule from a different angle. And so the title is The Two Witness Rule, Moses and Jesus Testify Against the Watchtower. So let's have a look at the two witness rule in the Bible. We'll find it at Deuteronomy 19 verse 15. And it's one that Jehovah's Witnesses take very seriously. If you've watched any of their videos or read articles about it. It's not something featured in a lot of the articles, but it does feature on JW Broadcasting in one of the morning worship sessions. But anyway, Deuteronomy 19 verse 15 says, and this is the principle, a single witness shall not suffice against a person for any crime or for any wrong in connection with any offence that he has committed. Only on the evidence of two witnesses or of three witnesses shall a charge be established. So this is the principle found in Deuteronomy 19 verse 15. So if you're a Christian watching this, you may think, well, why are we referring to the Old Testament? I'm a Christian, I'm under the New Covenant, or the New Testament. Well, Jesus referred to this principle several times in the Gospels. And we're going to look at a couple of conversations that he had with the Pharisees about his identity and where he was from. So first of all, we're just going to look at one thing that Jesus and the Pharisees agreed on. So I'll read John 5:31. Now this is Jesus talking. He said, "If I alone bear witness about myself, my testimony is not true." So Jesus is saying, I, as one witness, my testimony is not true. Even though he knew he was telling the truth in the account there. So it's not true. If it's only him, you need two witnesses. Now the Pharisees agreed with him because they knew their law very well. This is another conversation in John chapter 8, verse 13. The Pharisees said to him, Jesus, "You are bearing witness about yourself. Your testimony is not true." So this clearly shows that Jesus and the Pharisees are in agreement. They both recognise that according to the Mosaic law, the testimony of one person cannot confirm an important claim or serious charge. So, how many witnesses did Jesus have? Now, he was appointed as the Messiah and commissioned by the Father to proclaim a message and to perform works. So, for Jesus to proclaim this about himself, the witness is not true. You need two witnesses. Now, did Jesus have two witnesses? Well, let's have a look at what the scriptures say. And this sets a precedent for anyone making a claim to represent God. So John 5:36. But the testimony that I have is greater than that of John. That's John the Baptist. For the works that the Father has given me to accomplish, the very works that I am doing, bear witness about me that the Father has sent me. And the other conversation here in John 8:17 and 18, you just confirm that. Again, Jesus says, he refers to that law we read in Deuteronomy 19:15. So this is John 8:17 and 18. In your law, it is written that the testimony of two people is true. I am the one who bears witness about myself, and the Father who sent me bears witness about me. So here we see Jesus explaining to the Pharisees that he has two witnesses. He has his own testimony and that of the Father. The way the Father provides this witness is brought out in what we read in John 5:36. The very works that I am doing bear witness about me that the Father has sent me. So it was the powerful works or the miracles that Jesus was performing that proved that the Father had sent him. So this was the Father's testimony on Jesus' behalf. So it's very, very clear that Jesus had two witnesses confirming his appointment. Now, it's a very important principle to keep in mind. The precedent was set in earlier than that. If we look at Moses, so we'll see the way God dealt with Moses was exactly the same. Now, we all know the account about the burning bush, where Yahweh commissioned Moses to lead God's people, Israel, out of Egypt. But in Exodus chapter 4, in verse 1, Moses is hesitant, and this is one of the problems that he can see, which he needs help with. 4 verse 1 says, Then Moses answered, But behold, they will not believe me or listen to my voice, for they will say, Yahweh did not appear to you. So Yahweh or Jehovah had commissioned Moses, and the first thing Moses would have to do is approach the elders of Israel and tell them that Jehovah has got in touch with him and what he's going to do. But Moses says, well, they're not going to believe me. So Yahweh doesn't tell him off for saying this. He gives him a way of proving it. He gives him the second witness. He gives him 3 miracles to perform to convince the elders of Israel that Jehovah had sent him or appointed him. And let's see how this worked out. Exodus 4:29 and 30 and 31. Then Moses and Aaron went and gathered all the elders of the people of Israel. Aaron spoke all the words that Yahweh had spoken to Moses. And note this point, and did the signs in the sight of the people. And the people believed. So with Moses giving witness and God giving witness with powerful signs, the 2 witness rule was fulfilled and Moses' appointment was confirmed in the eyes of the people. So here we see that both Moses and Jesus both had 2 witnesses confirming their appointment. Now, Jesus referred to the 2 witness rule on another occasion in Matthew chapter 18. This is in the context of settling disputes among brothers. So it says in Matthew 18 verse 16, so you're confronting your brother about a fault, a sin. He's sinned against you. In 16 he says, but if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. So we see in this case, in the case of a charge brought by one man against another man, human witnesses were sufficient. You'd bring along 1 or 2 others. And in that society, in that culture, it would be men. But we won't get into that. So in this case, a human witness was sufficient as the second, even the third witness, if you wanted to go that far. But in Jesus' case, a human witness was not supplied. It was a divine witness. And this is because he claimed to be from God. So in that case, the Father joined in bearing witness and supplied the second witness that Jesus needed. In John 5:34, because remember, John the Baptist was a forerunner of Jesus, but was his testimony enough as a second witness in this case of a divine appointment? Well, in John 5:34, Jesus said, not that the testimony that I receive is from man, but I say these things so that you may be saved. So the testimony that Jesus received was not from man, but it was from God, because he had a divine appointment. So both Moses and Jesus' appointments were confirmed by God as the second witness. So the 2 things that we learn from all of this is that 2 witnesses are required to confirm serious matters. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. But the second point, which is very important to remember, is that when the claim is made about a divine appointment, an appointment from God, the second witness must be God. And the precedent has been set in the Bible. And we've just looked at that with Moses and with Jesus. You can see that with the apostles as well. After Pentecost of 33 CE, when the Holy Spirit was poured out, they were also performing signs. And Hebrews brings out the thought that God was joining in by providing these signs to confirm that he was using the Christian congregation from that time forward. Now, let's have a look at the Watchtower Society's credentials, because they claim that they were appointed by Jesus in 1919 to lead God's people. Now, it seems ridiculous. Are we really going to look at this? Well, we are. Now, did they really make such a claim? Let's have a look at the Watchtower. I've got it's up on the laptop here. This is an article which Jehovah's Witnesses studied, including myself, actually. I remember studying this, and it was a new understanding of the faithful and discreet slave, which we won't get into now. So you'll see this is in the 2013 Watchtower, 15th of July, and this is page 20. So if we go into paragraph 3, right here. In 1919, Jesus appointed the faithful slave over all his belongings. So the faithful slave was appointed by Jesus in 1919, apparently. we just go to paragraph 12. It says, paragraph 12, let me just look at my notes. Paragraph 12, yep. Yeah, so at the start here, it says, when did Jesus appoint the faithful slave over his domestics? Now, if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, you may not understand the terminology. The faithful slave, Jehovah's Witnesses recognise that faithful slave, which is spoken about in Matthew 24, 45 to 47, as being the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. In fact, if it's found out that you don't actually recognise that, then and you don't change your opinion, you make that known, you can be disfellowshipped. So we'll look at paragraph 15 as well, just to show that it uses that terminology, appointment. So in paragraph 15, it says, when does Jesus make the second appointment over all his belongings? So they're saying that they were appointed to feed the domestics or feed God's people. So the domestics are the ones who are being fed. In 1919, they were appointed to do this. And when the master returns, so when Jesus comes at Armageddon, or the Great Tribulation, which leads into Armageddon, he will make a second appointment where they'll be appointed over everything, all his belongings in heaven and earth. And just to clarify, they've got this box at the end, did you get the point? Just to make sure the Jehovah's Witnesses studying it got the point. So who is the faithful and discreet slave? So this is what you have to recognise to be in good standing as a Jehovah's Witness. It says, the faithful and discreet slave, a small group of anointed brothers who are directly involved in preparing and dispensing spiritual food during Christ's presence. Today, these anointed brothers make up the governing body. So, to be a Jehovah's Witness, you must recognise that the governing body is this faithful and discreet slave spoken of in the Bible, and you must obey them. And they use scriptures to show that. I think they use Hebrews 13, where it says you have to obey the ones taking the lead. And if you don't obey them, if you openly challenge their authority, then you'll be disfellowshipped. You'll be warned first and then disfellowshipped. So they definitely did say that. You know, they also say that they're imperfect men doing their best and all the rest of it. They're neither inspired nor infallible, but they say that they are the faithful slave and you must obey them. Some of the articles even say you have to follow their instructions even if they seem strange from a human standpoint. So they've definitely said that they have a divine appointment by Jesus in heaven. So let's have a look at the evidence. Is Watchtower's claim enough? Jesus said, if I alone bear witness about myself, my testimony is not true. So Watchtower makes these claims, they have for many decades, but where is God's witness? Where is Jesus' witness? Where have he spoken from heaven or provided a miraculous sign to show that he's appointed these men? It's missing. God is silent in this case. In this case, then, Jesus' words here are true. He testifies against the Watchtower that their lone witness about themselves is not true. What does Moses say? Well, we read Deuteronomy 19:15, where it says that the testimony of one man cannot confirm a matter or a charge against anyone. So Moses too, he bears witness against the Watchtower. Their testimony is not true. So, but someone may say, well, there's 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses who recognise the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses as a faithful slave, so surely that counts for something. Well, no, it doesn't. They need a divine witness. Jesus said at John 5:34, not that the testimony that I receive is from man. And we see that in verse 36 it says, the very works that I am doing bear witness about me that the Father has sent me. And that these works were, John 8:17 and 18 says, or particularly verse 18, the Father who sent me bears witness about me. So the Father, or God, chose to provide that second witness. So a divine witness is required. So again, Jesus testifies against the Watchtower. What does Moses say? Well, Exodus 4, verse 29 and 30. Remember what it said there? So this is the testimony of millions of people enough, or of humans enough. In verse 30 it says that Moses and Aaron did the signs in the sight of the people, and then the people believed. So divine witness is needed in this case too. So in this case, Moses testifies against the Watchtower because no divine sign has been given. God hasn't given a witness. So from all this, we see that God's testimony confirms Moses and Jesus' credentials as being sent from God, while at the same time discrediting Watchtower's so-called appointment. And Watchtower's track record testifies against them as well. They've made many predictions of the end. 1874, 1914, 1925, 1975, the end of the 20th century, and so forth. And none of these predictions have come true. In some of their articles, they call themselves a prophet-like organisation, and other times they say, oh, we never said we're a prophet. But they've made many predictions, and they claim to be feeding people and being used by Jehovah. So how have they not said that they're a prophet? Deuteronomy 18, verse 20 to 22, or 21 and 22 says, and if you say in your heart, how may we know the word that Yahweh or Jehovah has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of Jehovah, if the word does not come to pass or come true, that is a word that Jehovah has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You need not be afraid of him. So we clearly see from the track record of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society that they are false prophets. And it says here, you need not be afraid of him. So in other words, you don't need to be afraid of their words and stay in the organisation for fear of being destroyed, because they do not have divine backing, because they do not have two witnesses. So I just thought I'd like to share that video with you, and the next one I'm going to address Matthew 24 about the faithful and discreet slave, and show how that the small group of men from 1919 onwards was never appointed in the first place. There's no such thing. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time. Hey Luna, are you prepared to testify on Watchtower's behalf? No? You'd rather sleep? Okay. Good night.